Hey folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a fun pair of earrings using the Orange Citrus, Jesse James Orange Citrus bead strand, and the Cha-Cha tassels in Orange Blossom, and a few other odds and end things from my stash. These pieces are from my the bead strand and the Cha-Cha tassels are from my Jesse James Beads October Design Ambassador Kit, and I think they're really pretty. And let's get turned down and we will get to work on that. Okay, we have our Orange Citrus bead strand. We have our two Cha-Cha tassels. And from my stash, I've pulled out some little 6mm bicones. Another one of the little disco balls. I want 3, and there's only 2 on the strand. I took this one out of the strawberry rhubarb kit, which was our bead mix, which was my 3rd item on my ambassador kit. So these are the other 2 we're going to use. We will need some seed beads, as I said. I think I mentioned the seed beads anyway. Then we're going to use some 18 gauge gold Beadalon German Style wire. And we'll need a ruler, a wire mandrel, a bill making plier, flush cutters, and probably your chain nose pliers. We also will need some jump rings. I use oval. Got the large ones here. I'll need at least 1 large, maybe, but maybe more. It depends on how well these go together, whether the small ones will work all right or not. And so for an idea of what we're going to make, this is my sketch. We're going to have the Cha-Cha tassel, and then we're going to have 2 loops and a dangle. So let's get this party started, shall we? I said we'd only need a couple of these, but we'll need at least, well, no, the little ones will work. So we're going to use the little ones for that. But the first thing we need to do is, well, of course, we need to get our strand cut. So let's do that. I always cut it down here because I do believe this little ball right here is acrylic, and you don't have to worry about it getting damaged when you're cutting things out. So what I want is these, this, but not these, one of these, both of these little disco balls, and then I'm going to cut this little tag off of here and put it in a dish with the remaining beads from this bead mix, or strand, I should say. So let's see if we've got what we need here. Okay, we've grabbed a little dish for putting these extra pieces in so we don't get them lost. I really love these. I'm going to definitely have to find a project for those little. And I shouldn't say find, I will be designing something that those will go with. Now let's check to see if what I have here is everything I need. So on the bottom we need our cha-cha. There it is. We need some seed beads. Yep. The this next bunch is this, this, and then a bicone. And we should have 2 of those items. So let's make sure we have everything. And there. And the seed beads over here. And that will complete the bottom strand here. The next one is going to be this, plus these 2 potato chips, and then these other 2 bicones. And then the dangle is going to be this big one, this, and this piece right here. So we're going to need a ball head pin for that, the dangle, and some more and some small jump rings to put the rest of this together, and our wire, of course. So it looks like we have everything here. So let's put the things back in the dish so they don't get lost. And I'll get some of the little gold jump rings. We will need we need the 2 to put the cha-cha onto the bottom ring. Then we'll need about 3 to put the top together. Well, actually we'll have the big one, so we need 4 to put the top together, 2 for each one, and then we'll need another large jump ring to combine everything, and then we'll need some ear wires, of course. Now that we have everything out, let's start by making our wire pieces. Now our wire pieces, we need about 6 inches for the bottom one, and then we'll need a little bit less than that for the top one. Probably about 5 1/4 maybe. So let's get 2 pieces of 6 cut. I say do 2 because I like to get them cut at the same time, and they end up being, okay, this piece of wire has a V notch in this side, so I need to trim it down. Just barely cut to cut that little tiny bit off, because you want that to be the square. So let's cut the 6 inches. So 6 is here. So again, we want to cut this V-notch off of this side. And then we need another 6-inch piece. Now if we do them at the same time, then we can be sure that we have them the same when we're putting them together. Okay, now that we have our 2 6-inch pieces, let's temporarily put the wire away, as we will need another piece for the top loop later. And let's start getting these bottom ones formed. Now what you need to do, I like a wire bending mandrel, and when I'm making these bigger loops I actually use the handle. So let's place it in, pull it around, try and see if you can get it as straight as even as possible in towards the back. So I'm going to bend this one more since I can see that it's off, and that's pretty close, but let's pull it around just a little bit more. You can see it's still not even, so let's try and even that out some. There, that's pretty good. Now let's form the other one. Doing it exactly the same way by putting it in approximately the middle, pulling it around, but ooh boy, I really am off there. Okay, that's better. Okay. Now let's compare. They're looking pretty close, so we'll now make our next step. Put this aside for right now. And the next step is going to be to take your block and your wire piece and work hard in your loop a bit. Okay. Now what I want to do is make some loops. And I'm only going to make a loop on one side of these. Use the smaller of my small bell making pliers and take hold of this right where the wire starts here and twist it around till it meets. Like that. And now do the same with the other side. Oop. I like to get it right at the tip of the wire, but when you do that, sometimes the wire will slide right off of your bell making pliers. Okay, now that we've got this done, we need to start putting beads on. This is the first one for the other side. Then we have the little disco ball. Now, one thing I didn't tell you, but of course it's wise to do this, is check to make sure your beads are going to go on before you start with your wire, because you don't want to get it 3/4 of the way finished and then realize, dang it, my beads aren't gonna fit on this, and that's just no fun. Now, right here is where the cha-cha tassel is going to hang at, right from here. But since we're putting it on with a oval jump ring, we can wait to put that on until after we get all the beads on. I just realized I only kept enough of the seed beads and such out for one earring. We're going to have to get this stuff out for the other. But that's all right. Actually, it looks like I only got stuff out for one earring period. I have to see what we can do about that. All right, now that we've got these beads on, what we want to do is take our wire, our bell making pliers, and twist to this side up. And this might be too large of an earring for a lot of people. And if you find after you make it like this and you go, ugh, I don't think that, I think that's too big, I don't want that size. The easiest way to do this is to go into your rings, clip them off, and then just start a new wrap. And that will make them a bit smaller. Now remember, since we cut this off this one earring, we're going to have to do it on the other as well, or there'll be two different sizes. Now, of course, it's going to be spread out more, so just bring it in. Do that on both sides so it doesn't go to one side, and there you have the smaller earring there. Now, because I want to cut that, I'm going to twist this one over so I know where to cut it at. And then we're just going to cut like we did the other one, with it right here, right as it starts. And then we'll return this one side. You can see there's that one side returned, and it's going to be about the same size. And we will get some more beads out to finish this other one in a few, but right now we're going to get back to working on this one. And we're going to put the tassel on a jump ring and then hook it on first. So let's get one of the small jump rings out of here. And we will open this up. And then we're going to put it right here between these wires. Uneven. We want to put 3 on either side, Rose. Okay, there we go. 3 and 3. Tassel on. Close it up. And now our tassel is on our earring. So I like this color better, so we'll turn that to the front. So there's the first, and now we're going to need to make the second wire, and we will get that going just right next. The second wire, this was 6, and we actually cut off probably half an inch, so we don't want it to be any bigger than 5. So let's cut 2 5-inch pieces, and if we need to make it smaller, we can do that. It's our mandrel. Let's get 5 inches out right here. Okay, now that I have one piece out, oops, I forgot to fix the notch on this side. There we go. Now we want one the same size for the other side. First, let's get the V-notch off, and then we'll straighten and compare. Again, I have another V-notch. Didn't think about that. There we go. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by the V-notch, your flush cutters will only cut flush on one side. The other side, because it has a V in there, makes what I call a V notch, because it forms a little notch like it looks like a V on this end of your wire. I don't know if you can see that, but see, and it's very sharp. So you want to get rid of that when you're working on stuff. So we should be done with the wire now, so we'll put it up. And now we have our 2 pieces of 5-inch. And I see I've got one of these just a little longer than the other one, and I don't want that. So I will trim that one off just a hair's breadth to get them to be the same. There we go. And now the next step of it is, of course, to turn the loop, of course. So because that one was the handle, we don't want to use the handle. So let's go to this bottom one here. Go around in a loop. Come on, baby. And again, we want them to be about even. And that looks pretty good. There we go. See, this is going to sit like this inside here. And this is probably longer than we need it from the looks of it, but that's all right. We can trim it down like we did the other side. Come on, stay down on that spot. And there we have those 2. Now the next thing we want to do, of course, is to turn one of these loops, and then we want to, well, no, let's hammer it first, then we'll turn the loops. So we get out our bench block again and our nylon hammer, and we give this a few whacks to give it some work hardening. And now we will turn one side's loops. Now we're going to put on this side, this one's loops, beads, I should say. And what we wanted for the beads for this one was just the 2 little bicones, this big one here, and the 2 potato chips. So let's get that put on, and then we'll do we'll see if we need to trim it down so it will fit inside the other one better. Now this one might give you a little problems because it's got quite a bend here, and it might not want to go on that bend. And if that should happen, as you can see it doesn't, just straighten your loop up. Come on, babe. Yeah, we may have to straighten it a lot more than I thought we would. I don't think this bead's going to work. It's doesn't want to. It's a little large anyway. So let's see what we can find to replace this with. Okay, sometimes you'll discover they just don't want to go on. So we're going to see if this big orange bead here will go on instead. And sure enough, that fits on there all right. So we'll do that. And the little bicone. Okay, baby, work yourself over there. Now be careful because these are crystals and they may decide to break on you, and you really don't want it to do that. So there we go, we got it about in where I want it. So now we're going to turn its ring and we're going to see how it sits in with the other one here. A bit of an overturn there, so we need to bring these back in like this. And this little guy wants to move around, so now we want it to be up above this other ring, so, and we obviously need it to go up further, so it will sit more like this. So we're going to have to take off at least the full ring of what's above. So again, you're going to probably need about at least ½ an inch less, maybe even more than that, maybe closer to 3/4 of an inch less. So now that we've got those clipped off, let's, oh, that was swift. Now we'll have to find all that stuff. We'll just turn the ends again. Okay, now we'll bring those together and we'll see how that sits. Ah, that's going to be perfect. So there we go. So now we're going to want to turn the rings of the little one and then cut them off just like we did on the other one so that we get the proper size. Oh, I think that's an overturn. Now sometimes if they go sideways, you'll keep thinking you're not turned enough and it'll go past and go up the wire. So let's retract that just a bit. There we go. And now it's where it should be. And now we're just going to cut those rings off, just like we did on the other side. Turn one of them so that they are the same as the other side over here. Not quite there yet. There we go. And set that one aside. And the next thing is to put our dangle, make our dangle. So let's get ready for that. Now there are a couple of things here. Number one, we'll need, I'm sure you noticed that, oops, I don't have enough beads from out of this to do the few down here. So you'll need a second strand if you're going to make these earrings. I just happen to have bought one, purchased one for myself. So I do have a second strand. So I'm going to cut those open and get the things I need out of it, which are namely these beads right here and the little disco balls. And the others over here. And I think that's everything we need, so the rest of them can go up in here. But I have to make a decision on what we're going to put up here, because as you can see, when we put this up here with the little disco ball, like was my plan, it's going to bang into that lower set. I mean the upper set of the two. So we can't use I don't think we're going to be able to use this bead. I think it's gorgeous, but it's not going to work for this. So what we need to do is find one that will. Now we maybe could put this one in, but I'm not sure I want this right beside that. So I'm going to check in my stash and see if I have a larger bicone that is larger than these ones, but not as big as the one that I decided was too big. So just a moment, and I'll be back after I check on that. So after a lot of debate with myself, I thought, you know, we're going to have to get something relatively small to go up here. So I'm thinking I'm going to just use another one of these orange bicones and just put the disco ball on the bottom instead of the top, which should make it quite a bit smaller. And let's hope it's small enough. So let's wire wrap this by turning the wire this way. Now this time I want my really tiny bell making plier, and we'll push that around, let this come up here, bring it down and around, change hands because I like my wrapping to be in my dominant hand, and then just wrap this around. About 3 to 4 times. And we want to trim that off. And see if it needs to be tucked. And it definitely needs to be tucked. But you want to be very, very careful because this is a crystal up top and it will break. And I actually could have trimmed a bit more off. Be careful when you're trimming because you got to remember that your flush cutters are very sharp. They cut metal, and you don't want to cut your finger. So let's straighten this up here at the top. Looks pretty good. And when you're tucking, you don't want to break your crystals, so you got to be careful of that too. Okay, nice and straight. And now we can put it together. We'll see if that's too long still. And it could well be. So we'll see. Anyway, to put it together, this is all going to be for the other one, most of it anyway. We need those jump rings. And the first one we're going to put on, and we'll see if we need the bigger one instead of these smaller ones. And we could, because we need it to go through 2 rings instead of just 1, so it might be that I needed the bigger. So let's grab these 2 rings, put through the little one first, and then through the bigger. Oh, I think that the one should be fine. Okay, see if it's going to hang good. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So we need to then hook the other. We go through both again and close it up. Now the next step gets a little trickier because we have to put on all kinds of things, including this. Okay, so because we're putting so many things on here, we want the larger jump ring. So I'm going to open that up. Now turn these downwards when you do this because you want your jump rings to be hanging in the direction that they're going to need to grab to be even. Otherwise they might twist up on you. So let's, like I said, this is the tricky part because we've got all these things. Okay. So we need this one. Then we're going to need the little dangle. And then we need this other jump ring from this side. So we need to get it upwards. Okay. Through the jump ring. And lastly, through your ear wire. And then pull it together. Now let's see how they hang. Oh, that's perfect. See? Go over there. So it's got a very pretty earring. So now we just need to put the second one together. You know, that little dangle is far enough up there. I wonder if we could have used that bigger bead in there. Let's try it in the second one and see what happens. If it doesn't work, we can always just take it loose and make it this way. But let's go ahead and see what happens. So let's get going with the second one. So we want the big one first. Let's get all of our beads racked up on here. I think this bicone might have a slightly smaller hole than the other ones, so we might use it last. Let's see. Being problematic, are you? Come on, around the loop. Now, if you have to pull it apart, it will generally go back up relatively easily. You just have to work it a bit. Let's get back to the rest of our... Wow, this one's just being a little bit of a bugger, isn't it? Well, I sometimes say you're not beading if you don't drop beads, so I just dropped some, so I'll have to get some new ones out. Okay, this one is a little bit, needs to go this way here. See if we can work it up there. Come on, you need to go up just a teeny bit. Come on. There we go. Now it might be too high. We'll see. Now let's turn the loop. Bring it back together. Okay, that's a little too far together. And I think I made it too slim now. I'm going to have to fatten her back up. I did, yes. So just ease your sides apart some. The bicones are being problematic, but we'll get them going. See if we've got it about right now. Looks like we could fatten it up just a teeny touch more, maybe right here. I think that's good now. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Maybe off just a hair, but not too much. So anyway, next step, put this cha-cha tassel onto here. Go. There's the tassel. And now it's time to do the little one next up, next one up. Again, let's compare again, make sure it's still looking good. Might be easier this way. I think it could be just a teeny touch wider, but not a lot. So we'll just put our thumbs in and bring it across. There. I think I like that. That should do it. Yeah. So let's pull this baby off and we'll start on our second one. Looks like we're gonna have to do the spread the wire thing. So these will go over. Come on, baby. Boy, this one's really gonna have to be put back in shape. Oh, that looks like it's about this spot, so we'll just... Come on. Okay, got this most of the way back in shape, so let's do the twist on this one. And finish getting it in shape. I think we're just about there. Now it will go right there. Oop. And now we just have to put that dangle in. And like I said, we want to try the bigger dangle and see if that will work. I suspect it's probably going to be too big, but let's give it a try. I'm fairly positive if we use this one, we're going to need to leave off the little disco ball part. Because even though the wrap brings it up some, it's going to still... See, this is the same size as both of those pieces. So it would be, with the disco ball on it, it would be too long and hit the one below it. So I'm thinking that no, this won't work. So back to the original one. Let's put this baby back in the case so we don't lose it. Put it aside, and then we will get this put together. Okay, so we had the disco ball on the bottom, the little orange crystal on the top, and now we have to wire wrap that, do the bend, take the smallest of our bell making pliers, go around, drop, finish coming around, and then wrap. Okay, that wrap wants to go over the top of the one above it. I don't want to do that, so to work it out of there. Sometimes your wraps don't want to be cooperative, but you just have to make them be. So we trim the extra wire. And tuck it in. Make sure we're pretty straight. Now, if your wire wants to be a little crooked, I sometimes use my fingernails. Well, I frequently use my fingernails to straighten it up, because I think your fingernails and your fingers are your best friends when you're doing wire work. So now we just have to put this one together and we're done. So here's our bits and pieces. We need the two little ones to put the two arms together, and then the big one to put everything together. Well, this is one of the tricky parts, like I said, putting on all the little pieces. This one has to come up straight now and go on the proper way, or you will have your earring twisted up. And bring this jump ring together. And now this one is finished, as long as I didn't twist anything. Nope, I didn't. She's looking good. So there we go. Earring number 1, earring number 2, and they are finished. Let's put our tools together here and together away. Duh. And we will hold these up so you can see them a little better. And I think they turned out really pretty. Okay, here's our finished earring. And the second one. So let's see here. I think it focuses pretty good on those. So anyway, pretty little cha-cha citrus earrings. I think they turned out really cute. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we had a little fun with making these earrings. And hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.